And any book that has Mason Miller is not only not listed, he's not even priced. Like Colton Cowser is priced as if Mason Miller doesn't exist.
They don't think he's going to meet the innings required, minimum, whatever things. That there might be some stipulation that they're going, we're going to put him in there and he's not going to be eligible to win. And we're going to have to give all the bets back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
You know, I got to be honest with you. We were just reflecting on the World Series and everything, and we were talking in the break about how, you know, I'm going to be honest here. Like, it's always the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to win the World Series, and the Yankees. And how's that been going lately with everyone's grandiose predictions of the Dodgers and Yankees? The Yankees, do you remember when they were 70-30 and then they couldn't win a game for 2 months? And I know you brought it up to me, Carver High, last week. Like, you don't get ahead of yourself with the Yankees because they were up like 40 games over 500 and they finished 2 games over 500 and they lost in the playoffs again. And how do the Dodgers do in the playoffs? They've been doing great lately in the playoffs, losing every year. So, I can't do it. I just can't go there. I cannot put these teams in the World Series when they never get it done to begin with. And I got to tell you, I was watching a highlight today, and here's proof of it. Like, I'm watching a highlight today, my son pulled up, of the Pirates in 2013 when they beat Cueto in a playoff game at PNC, and Martin hit a home run into the left field seats, and they were going crazy at the PNC. I mean, fans crawling on top of each other going crazy when he hit the home run into the left field seats. They were literally, it was like the right field porch in Yankee Stadium when Soto hit one out. They all were, you would have thought it was the World Series. They were going crazy like they had won the World Series. And I thought to myself, man, you know, the Pirates get to go to the playoff about once every 30 years. And what it was like to see people happy watching a team that sucks is no different than watching the Cubs after 108 years win the World Series. It was the best thing that ever happened to baseball. Watching the Kansas City Royals win the World Series. And I'll never forget, I went on MLB Network. You remember I got in a fight with Sherman on MLB Network? I said, it's the best thing that could happen to baseball is that these small market crappy teams win the World Series or go to the playoffs, because all we ever get is the same shack year after year, month after month. That's what's wrong with baseball, is people talking about the Dodgers and Yankees like they're the only thing that matters in baseball and that no one else has a shot ever, and then neither one of them ever get it done. All right, I'll give you this. The Yankees 09, to me that's like moons ago. The Dodgers won one. I'll give them that. You know, they squeaked one in there a few years ago. the Braves, you remember when they 14 division titles in a row and 1 World Series. I'm sick of hearing about them too. I'm sick and tired of hearing about them. They can't even beat the Phillies. So just any team at all, whether it's Cleveland, Seattle, Kansas City, Milwaukee, I don't care who it is. Give me somebody that doesn't matter getting hot and causing grief for the Dodgers and Yankees. And I'm a Yankee fan. I like the Pirates way better than I like the Yankees. But since my team goes once every, century to the playoffs, I gotta root for somebody. I'm rooting for a dog to knock off the behemoth. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Los Angeles Dodgers. They can kiss my ass. It's as bad as listening to ESPN knob the Lakers every day of the entire effing season. I've had enough of it. You can stick that in your arse. 6 ways till Sunday. I'm done with it. Go root for those front runners. Let's do a half hour on the Dodgers today on SportsGrid. Honest to Christ. Aren't people sick of it enough already? I know I am, and I'm right.
I know one thing, Scotty. If you would have told people a year ago, in fact, I'll give you a round number. June 1st is what, Saturday? If you would have told people on June 1st last year that Texas and Arizona were going to play in the World Series, they would have laughed at you if you told them Texas and Arizona were going to play in the World Series this year. That's what happened in October. Know this. October can get crazy. You usually have one team in there that's nobody picked months before. It's who gets hot in October. You saw it with Texas and Arizona last year. How about the year Washington won? The year that the Phillies lose to Houston a couple years ago, they came out of nowhere to make the World Series against Houston. You get teams that come from out of nowhere all the time in the baseball playoffs. Automatic. It's very rare you get the 2 chalk teams, the 1 seeds in baseball playing in the World Series. Very rare.
When Yankees and Dodgers, 78?
Yeah, 78. 77, 78.
We've been waiting for that ever since. You know what 1978 is? That we were going down to Studio 54 with an 8 ball, okay? That's how long it's been since we got the big, it's the Dodgers and Yankees this year automatic. That's all I ever hear.
Has there been a couple years where you get...
I'm bored.
Yeah, look. I mean, look at the year the Cubs won. Who did they play? Cleveland? Cubs? Cleveland was the World Series that year? Like, you get...
All I know is when they won it, if you were at Murphy's that night, you probably got somebody pregnant. That's all I know. That was pregnant night in Chicago. More babies were born that night and conceived that night than any night in sports history.
I forgot to mention this to you with the Yankees before I go to Skeens. How about this Louis Heel? 7-1, a 1.99 ERA, 0.95 whip, 79 strikeouts. He wasn't even going to be in the rotation. He's there because Cole got hurt and couldn't start the year. That guy's been awesome for the Yankees, Scotty.
He's been unbelievable. Trade Cole.
Well, I still don't believe that Cole's going to pitch this year. You know that. I still think they're going to ramp him up. They're going to see it was a full tear. They're going to shut him down. He's going to end up having the surgery. I still don't think the Cole thing's going to end very well
I think he's gonna pitch,
for the Yankees.
And I think he's going to have it pop.
He'll get hurt. Yeah, that's the other scenario that I could absolutely see happen when Cole comes back. How about Skeens yesterday? 9 strikeouts. Pirates split the doubleheader with the Tigers. Tremendous job by him, and he is climbing, Scotty, up the NL Rookie of the Year board. Look at this for Paul Skeens. Now right behind Imanaga, who got knocked around last night. Skeens at plus 300 now, Scotty, the second choice.
Yeah, Skeens is going to win it because no one wants Imanaga to win it. Everyone wants Skeens to win it, so they'll make sure he does. Like this kid from LSU, national title, #1 draft pick, came in 7 Ks, then 10 Ks, then 9 Ks, and they blow. The bullpen blew 2 of the games. He's 2-0. He could easily be 4-0. The guy's been unbelievable, and trust me, there is bias. They're gonna vote for him over a guy from the Far East that no one's ever heard of. Trust me, you. I mean, that guy came over here with all that money. They gave him Imanaga and the other guy. they've had two of them. They gave all this money to Skeens is everybody's darling out of LSU. He's the flavor of the day. When do they show Imanaga besides never? Skeens, every time he pitches, he's on national television. He's going to win that award as sure as I'm sitting here.
I agree with you. He's absolutely going to win. It is a major event every time he pitches. And here's the other thing. I think Imanaga's awesome, but I've said this to you forever. I thought this before I was doing shows with you. I don't think it's right that the players that come over and have been professional players in Japan win the Rookie of the Year. Or in Korea, wherever, win the Rookie of the Year. I don't like it. Skeens is a legitimate rookie. This is his first, playing professional baseball. And he has been unbelievable so far, and hopefully the train keeps rolling for him every time that he starts.
Look at this, television and newsflash here. It looks as though the former president has been found guilty on all 34 counts in the hush money trial. The verdict is in, and now he'll go win the presidency again and probably roll that over into 8 years. Nothing like having that felon running things. Congratulations.
That's probably what's going to happen. You're right about that. Before I get to tonight's games, I want to come back and go over this stuff from the Met game with you with the Jorge Lopez, who threw the glove in the crowd, got DFA'd after the game. I'm going to do all that with you when we come back before we get to tonight's action.
Yeah, honestly, I really don't have a problem with the guy just having enough of it and throwing his glove into the crowd. Who cares?
I agree.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Michael Penix is a walking injury. What are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. And it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for, so I don't like the pettiness. I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Harbor High putting in tickets right now for Trump to win the election, already getting futures down for November. It's like the World Series bets we got going here today.
It's like the World Series bets that we have going. All right, I want to go through this with you, this Dodger-Met game last night. The Dodgers beat the Mets. They swept them. They took the doubleheader the day before. They beat them yesterday. It was tied late. They exploded for a ton of runs. Ohtani hit a huge homer. The Mets season, as usual, crumbling here, and it's not even June 1st yet. So Jorge Lopez, Scotty, one of their relievers, gets ejected from the game. He gives up the 2-run homer to Ohtani in the 10-3 loss. And then he gets into it with the third base umpire about a check swing while Freddie Freeman was off. So the ump gives him the gate. He's walking off the field, and he's fired up, and he throws the glove into the crowd, gives the fans a souvenir. I mean, what's wrong with that, Scotty? At the end of the day, he's just giving the fans something to go home with. He throws the glove here. Here he is after the game. All the reporters, of course, surround him about throwing the glove and if he regrets it. Here's what Jorge Lopez had to say.
Looking back on it, do you regret doing that?
No. No, I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst teammate probably in the whole MLB. So, whatever happened. So, whatever they want to do, I'll be tomorrow here if they want me. Whatever they want to do. So.
Well, they didn't want him. They didn't want him. They sent it home.
He was saying he's terrible. He said he's terrible.
He was saying, I've been the worst teammate. Now, a lot of people that cover the team or even the team's network basically said that he was saying, I play for the worst team in Major League Baseball. Which, okay, well, that's besides the point. We don't disagree with that point. The guy clearly, I just listened to it again with you. He said, I've been the worst teammate in Major League Baseball. And I don't think that's why they DFA'd him, Scotty. I think they DFA'd him for throwing the glove and for giving up runs constantly and for doing all that.
You know what?
But, man, they made this guy look real bad. And you know what else that comes back to me? There's a lot of these guys, and he speaks pretty good English, but there's still a lot of guys that want to use the interpreter, when they're not, 100% with the English language. And I think that's a spot right there for Lopez where he tried to answer the questions in English, got a little confused, didn't come across the right way, because he said teammate, and those guys skewered him pretty good last night.
Well, they have nothing better to do, the media in New York, than crucify this guy because there's nothing to talk about with the Mets. And here's the other thing that's interesting to me is that the owner, Cohen, okay, here's a guy that promised, he's like a politician. This guy made every promise in the world that he was going to spend more money than anyone in baseball to bring championships to New York and Queens, right? And you know what he's really doing? Let's get real here. This guy spends more time trying to get a casino near Citi Field than he does time spent on his baseball team making it better or doing deals with his star players. And now you're going to worry about some hack reliever that no one's ever heard of? What are you going to spend a week writing about that now that they got rid of Lopez? Let me tell you something. No one cares about Jorge Lopez. They never did. They never will. And in a month, you'll never remember that it even happened. But you'll remember Cohen as he continues to worry about casinos and not his terrible baseball team that he promised he was going to spend money on, which he never has. I mean, let's face facts. I mean, this is the reality of the situation. All you have to do is see what's really happening in New York. That guy spends all day trying to get that casino done. That's what he does. And he knows nothing about baseball, by the way. You know what he is? He's a glorified rich guy that likes going to baseball games. That's what he is. That's all he ever was. He's a billionaire that made his money, obviously, nothing to do with baseball. I can tell you that much. And he's just a fan. He's a fan that owns a team. And he said he was going to make him a champion. And they've gotten worse by the day since he took over. In fact, I think the Wilpons, they say the Wilpons were the worst owners ever in baseball. They're better than this guy. They're as good as this guy at the very least. They did more for the Mets than this guy has ever done since the day he bought him. You could argue that easily. The Wilpons hated me. They fired me when I was on the Mets channel. I don't like the Wilpons, but I'll give them this. Despite getting fleeced by Bernie Madoff, they did a lot more for the Mets. They put him on TV on SNY. They did a lot of things, the Wilpons. This guy, Steve Cohen, he's done absolutely nothing since he's been the owner of the New York Mets. He's done nothing. And he's probably going to get that casino, too. He's got his hands all wet in that money. Trust me, you. Read the papers. Educate yourself. You'll figure it out.
He's going to get He's going to get the casino, too. You're right about that. He likes to tweet also, which is another specialty
Whatever.
of his.
No one listens to him. Everyone thinks he's a loser.
Nobody listens to him at all. Orioles beat the Red Sox last night. Gunnar Henderson had a grand slam. The Nationals beat the Braves 6-2. They will look to take 3 out of 4 tonight from them. I'll give you the numbers in a moment. Rockies were able to not get swept by Cleveland. They won 7-4 last night. We mentioned the Mariners and the Astros. The Mariners are going for the sweep this afternoon, Scotty, up in Seattle against the Astros, but they are down 3-0 now. I just saw Alex Bregman hit a 2-run homer for the Astros to put them up there. Blue Jays starter Alek Manoah heading to the for an MRI on his elbow. He's going to be finished. And also, this is also in the while you were away department at community service. Angel Hernandez retiring after 34 seasons as a Major League Baseball umpire. I know you're going to miss Angel.
Well, he got a lot of attention for being the worst ump ever in baseball history. They've been writing about him for 3 days, like it matters. Good riddance. He was an awful umpire. Right. He never did a World Series or any game that mattered in a ALCS or NLCS. Bottom line is, he was terrible, but it's amazing to me how people are still writing about him for 3 or 4 days after he retired on the spot. Like, I'm done today. Goodbye. You know what they say? Good riddance, because he was so awful, but yet they're still writing about him as if he matters. What, do you miss him already? Like, see you later. You suck. How's that sound? Bye. And then they write stories about him. Like, what are you going to write about? What he eats for breakfast? He was the worst ump I ever saw in my life.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. And I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now. And you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High. There is baseball tonight, believe it or not. I think there's, 4 games?
There is 4 games tonight, Scotty. You are right. Why don't we start, since we've had so much discussion about the Mets here in the last few minutes, with them, because they have a 4-game series at home with the Arizona Diamondbacks that begins tonight. The Diamondbacks could use some wins as well, by the way, as they're out to a 25-30 start. Zach Gallen of Milk against Christian Scott as the pitching matchup. Diamondbacks minus 125, plus 105 for the Mets, and a flat 7 here tonight.
I mean, honestly, how can you not pounce on Gallon of Milk at, I got him at minus 120 this morning. Like, how can you not take that based on just everything? I don't care what his record is. What is he, 5-6? But look at his numbers, his ERA, his whip, all the rest, his innings, his strikeouts, his walks. He's like legitimate every 5 days, tough to deal with. And then you've got the New York Mets with their crappy pitcher going tonight, Scott. And this team, all they do is lose. All they do is blow games and lose. And they got all this drama going on right now that they've, I don't even think they created it themselves. You get a reliever, throw a glove into the stands. You'd think the world was ending in Queens. I'm on Arizona here tonight with Gallon of Milk at that price. You got to be kidding me.
By the way, I had no problem with him throwing his glove in the crowd. It's about time somebody showed some emotion on that team. Unlike some of the guys that they pay hundreds of millions of dollars to. Honestly. At least somebody's awake. At least somebody's awake over there and banging the drum a little bit.
Or that he had the stones to say it. That he said, I don't regret anything.
I don't regret anything. I like it. They need a guy like that on the team. Don't get rid of him. The Tigers are at Fenway tonight and this weekend for 4 games. It'll be Jack Flaherty and Nick Pivetta tonight in the opener. Minus 125 for Boston, plus 105 for the Tigers. Another flat 7, low total night.
Listen, I have told you on a number of occasions that I put Flaherty in my top 10 of worst pitchers in baseball. Like, this guy's bad luck. I'm telling you, I'm on Boston tonight, not only to win, but I'll take the over in that little sandbox. I mean, this guy Flaherty, he gives up 7 runs an inning. Forget about game.
He does.
He'll give up 7 runs in 1 inning. Give me Pivetta and the Red Sox all day, baby.
Pivetta, let's go. I like the over tonight, too, in that game with the flat 7 for the Sox and the Tigers. The Nationals are looking to take 3 out of 4 from the Braves. So it's been a rough week for the Braves, Scotty. Of course, they lost Acuna Jr. over the weekend. He's done for the year. Now they're on the brink of losing 3 out of 4 to the Nats. Trevor Williams and Ray, don't call me Steve Kerr, going for the Braves tonight. The Braves right now minus 200, plus $1.65 for the Nats. 8.5 is the total.
I mean, Williams has been unbelievable. And you're kidding, right? That you're going to give me, he's 4-0 with a 2.2 ERA and a 108 whip. 43 Ks, just 14 walks on the season in 51 innings. And this guy Kerr's a hack. And the Braves, since Acuna went down, look like they've been at a funeral procession. Give me the Nats at $1.58. And how about this? You can even get them on the run line at minus $1.25 for the 1.5. It's not that much juice. I've seen worse bets today around here.
I have too. I was actually going to say to you the 1.5 for Washington. Seems like a nice play for me tonight. I think that's where I'm going to be leaning as well. Only one late night game. It's the Yankees finishing off that series in Anaheim against the Angels. Carlos Rodon and Patrick Sandoval tonight. Minus 175 for the Yanks, plus $1.45 for the Angels. 8.5 late night tonight.
Listen, I laid the 1.5, and here's another thing. Sandoval is literally disgusting. I mean, this guy gets tattooed like the Rolling Stones every time he pitches. And his ERA is hovering around 6. The number's 8.5 in the game. I laid the 1.5 at literally minus, I think it was minus $1.05. It was nothing. And then you're going to tell me minus $1.05 for the over? I think the Yankees scored 10 runs tonight on Sandoval. They're going to torch him like nobody's been, like a tiki bar. They're going to torch him like a tiki bar with the lights. You know, the little flame things they got at the tiki bar? Everybody's doing it tonight for the Yankees. Watch. The big bats are coming out tonight because this guy throws underhanded.
This is the type of lefty that Judge and Stanton eat up, Scotty. I think I usually don't give you the full tater time when there's only 3 or 4 games. Judge and Stanton would be on the tater time tonight. They're probably short prices. I don't care. One of them, if not both, will go deep off of Sandoval tonight. It'll happen.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for, so I don't like the pettiness. I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Is our NFL insider on SportsGrid. Well over 2 decades covering the NFL. You can follow him for free on X at Kaplan NFL, and you can see him on SportsGrid across the board and on Coast to Coast with regularity. Man, are they handing out money these days in the NFL? Your boy Jalen Waddle got a big bag today.
Yeah, he did over $28 million a year. Good for him and good for the Dolphins. And Tyreek Hill needs to get a raise here. He's next there. At some point, they're going to have to redo his deal or give him more money because he's absolutely phenomenal. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But, yeah, so Waddle is the latest to do it. And this has been an interesting offseason for wide receivers. This has been the offseason for extensions. Waddle, A.J. Brown, by the way, Devontae Smith. So the Eagles right now are the first team to pay both receivers super high money. That's not often happening. And they're a team that's done it, and we'll talk about some of the other teams here. Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Lions is absolutely terrific, who's been a great story as a former fourth-round pick. He got his extension. Nico Collins just got his with the Texans, and they're loaded on offense. That's one of my breakout teams this season, so they should have been. Last season, we all missed on that. Michael Pittman Jr., you might remember his dad, Michael Pittman Sr., the running back for the Bucs, won a Super Bowl, and also a couple of other teams. And Jerry Jeudy, now remember with Jerry Jeudy, the Broncos did not want to extend his contract, so they traded him to the Browns. So the Browns is continuing to trade for him. They got that extension done with the re-signing of Mike Evans, who's going to be a Hall of Famer someday with the Bucs, of course, for over $20 million. Now, how about the guys who are still unsigned or need to get an extension? T. Higgins is not signed. He can't practice. He's on the franchise tag. If he doesn't sign his franchise tender, he can't practice, so he's out of camp. Jamar Chase, he wants this extension. Now, you're starting to see where this money is. A.J. Brown, the highest paid receiver in the National Football League at $32 million. Chase will try to beat that. So will Justin Jefferson, who we could argue and debate who the best receiver is. Justin Jefferson will get a minimum of $32 million a season, if not 33 or more. Also, Jamar Chase, as we mentioned, and Brandon Ayuk is phenomenal. The problem with Ayuk is, when you look at this, Scott, is Ayuk's on a team with Christian McCaffrey, maybe arguably the best all-around back in the last 20 years. on offense. Then you've got George Kittle, who's got to get the football. You've got Deebo Samuel, who's got to get the football. If you put Ayuk on the Bills or another team that throws the ball a lot, and if he was their number one receiver, this guy's a top 5 receiver. But unfortunately, he plays with a team where there's so much talent, and also a lot of guys are going to have to get paid. So it's going to be hard to get him up to $30 million. But he certainly should get, if he gets his extension done, Waddle money, which is over $28 million. And also, when you look at the situation with T. Higgins, he's in a tough spot. You and I have talked about him before. Really good football player. He's around $25 million a year. He's around that Devontae Smith money, but can't imagine he'll get more than that if he gets a deal done. And remember now, they got to get Jamar Chase's deal done. So again, when we look at receiver, a lot have gotten done, but some big ones, the big fish, obviously, is Justin Jefferson.
They're not going to give T. Higgins that money. They have to give it to Jamar Chase. That's all there is to it. And why don't the Niners, I'm asking you, trade him already? I mean, they haven't been able to even come close to a deal with Ayuk because of all the reasons you said, and all of those reasons aren't going away. So why don't they just deal him, for God's sakes?
And by the way, they drafted, this is a stunner, Ricky Pearsall was their first-round pick, a wide receiver. They went with the highest player who was on their board, but that was clearly not a position of need. They've tried to get Ayuk's deal done. They still are confident they can get it done. They've made it clear they didn't want to trade him. In fact, this is what John Lynch kind of hinted after the draft. Once they got past the draft, the opportunity or the urgency to trade is completely gone. It would be an upset if they wound up trading him. But you're right. It's hard. It's hard to find a reasonable number. And they're another team, the Niners, they don't play a lot of 3 receiver sets. That's why the drafting of Ricky Pearsall, the receiver out of the University of Florida, who I saw at the Senior Bowl, was kind of surprising. And by the way, they just re-signed Juwan Jennings, their 3rd receiver, paying him really good money for a backup. So it's hard to imagine that Ayuk's going to get the deal that he seeks, but he's under contract. He'll be there this season, barring something unforeseen.
Which is trading him. That's exactly what's unforeseen.
Well, after this season, After this season, moving him one way or the other, or tagging him and trading him is another option next year.
They can't possibly want to sit around for a year with this hovering over them like a black cloud. And it's already bad enough, the back and forth, that they haven't been able to do a deal. You're telling me that they're going to leave it that way for a year, another year, they're going to just put up with this?
Yeah, but when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, don't you just you try to keep it together for as long as you can, and then you move on if you can't get an extension done. At this point, what would be the point? I know Ricky Pearsall's the first-round pick. Again, he was a late first-round pick. Ayuk is one of the top 5 to top 7 in terms of talent at the wide receiver position. And by the way, in Deebo Samuel, big cap number next year, a lot of salary, and he's a great player. He's also had a pretty big injury history, so they got to be careful here. Their window of opportunity to win a Super Bowl is now, and they got to try to deal with their best players.
Well, they're signing everybody else and giving Jennings money. They draft Pearsall. They've done everything else except the Ayuk deal. That blows my mind. Is the best deal for the money? You know what one I thought was the best, in terms of GM moves and price tag, was Pittman's deal. He didn't get that much money in Indy. That was a good deal for the Colts.
It was very reasonable money. Pittman's a really good football player, very competitive. Now, he wasn't a first-round pick, but he's been very, very solid. But Ayuk, who's, by the way, more talented than Pittman, I don't think that's even debatable. Pittman's a good player, but Ayuk's at another level. Ayuk should come in, if it gets done, around this deal that just got done with Jalen Waddle. And again, with Miami, you look at their situation, it's really a 2-receiver offense. The tight ends don't get the football. Whereas with San Francisco, you got 5 guys that get the football. I get where the Niners are, and Ayuk, I have no problem with him wanting to get the kind of money that he deserves, which should be between $28 and $30 million. He's not getting wherever Justin Jefferson gets. I don't see him getting $30 million a year. It's not that he's not worth it. It's a situation they're in with the Niners.
All right, let's talk about mandatory camps that begin next week.
Yeah, this is a big deal here. So OTAs, Scott, from being at these things for 25 years, they're very light, mostly 7-on-7, some 9-on-7s, some 11-on-11s. But the mandatory camp, okay, these are 3 days of practice. Everybody's got to be there who's under contract, and there's no time off. They're 3 days in a row. So these are the last practices before training camp start in late July. And also, you should know that A lot of them are next week, and then the week after, the ones that aren't next week, and that's it. They're off to the summer, really, again, until late July. So it's really, really important. And the intensity, particularly for rookies and second-year players who are trying not only make a roster, but try to impress their coaches, is very, very important. And I've seen a lot of guys like really stand out. And yes, you can tackle, you can hit. There's not a lot of physical play, but the OTAs are very light. Once you get to the mandatory camps, the competition ratchets up, and we'll talk about some of the standouts that I hear about once we get there. But that's the big part. And also the other thing that just came down, and I love this, the Bears are going to be on it. They're going to be on Hard Knocks. I never thought I'd see today, Scott, but I can't wait to see this. That is a team that could break out, and they finally have great offensive talent. When is the last time you talked about the Bears having great offensive talent? Maybe ever.
1985. That's the last time I talked about the Bears.
Yeah.
But they mattered then, and they won the Super Bowl then, and it's the last time they've won it, and they've been awful ever since. And the reason they're getting on Hard Knocks is because of Caleb Williams, and there's really no other reason.
Well, Keenan Allen, who's a stud, is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. You got Rome Odunze, the rookie wide receiver. DeAndre Swift comes over. Cole Kmet. Gerald Everett, the tight end. They're absolutely loaded on offense. The question is, can Caleb Williams be Offensive Rookie of the Year? If he is, they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. And all those players you talked about, I'll give you Keenan Allen. The rest of them, I can live without. I'm not losing any sleep over watching them on Hard Knocks or on Sundays either.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Carver High, I got to tell you about once a day. Play our free-to-play BetMGM Swing for the Fences for a chance to win daily prizes. Play as the batter and pick an area of the strike zone. Get a single, double, triple, home run, or fly out. Play it once a day. 1, free-to-play promotion for BetMGM Sportsbook. 2, you get the BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who play our BetMGM Swing for the Fences. They're going to have an opportunity to win a reward if they get a hit. 3, the reward types include parlay boost tokens, odd boost tokens, single game parlay boost tokens, bonus spins in eligible casino states, and bonus bets. All rewards expire in 24 hours. You got to be kidding me. The swing for the fences, FTP. Everybody's doing it at BetMGM. Go to BetMGM.com or download the Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. All right, Carver High. Everybody loves hockey.
Everybody does love hockey, Scotty, that's for sure. And unlike the NBA, which might have a week off, if Dallas wins tonight and closes out that series, there is nothing ending in hockey anytime soon. That is because both conference finals are now tied at 2 games apiece. Both are now best of 3s. That is because Edmonton beat Dallas last night 5-2 to even that series at 2. Second period, tied at 2. 2s are wild today on Coast to Coast. Oilers scored 2 goals in less than a minute to take the lead, and they never looked back on TNT.
Duchesne works it back out for Harley, pushing one, blocked in front. And now the Oilers jump on it. They have a 2-on-1, shorthanded. Here is Brown, slides it across. Yanmark scores! That made a run all the way to the Stanley Cup final here in Edmonton in 2020. Here comes Draisaitl, give and go, Draisaitl scores!
Well, there you go. They can score in droves. And I did want to mention, Carver High, I don't know if you noticed this, but they did slip our boy Bob with shoes on. Bob with shoes and did call a game in the Stanley Cup conference finals the other night. He was doing a game, and they said, remember, he was done doing games, and he was off to do golf, and that he was, finished for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Wrong. They had him doing a game, and he was great.
McDonough was sick. I think it was game 2 or 3. I think it might be game 2, whichever it was. McDonough was sick last week, and Bob got the slide in for that game. So Bob did get to call one of those conference final games.
I hope he gets sick again.
I knew you were going to say that right afterwards. The Oilers and the Stars will play game 5 tomorrow night. We'll discuss it more tomorrow. The Stars are minus 130 favorites in that game. Oilers plus $110, and that will be a flat 6. That's back in Dallas, of course, tomorrow night. The series now, with it being 2-2, Dallas is now a small favorite, Scotty, minus 120 with even money for the Oilers. I still think Dallas gets it done. They win 2 of these 3 games.
I'm not going to argue with that. I actually do believe that they're a better team overall on both ends of the ice than Edmonton. And I really believe that Skinner's shaky. Like, I saw a guy rattled early. I know they won. That's because they scored 5 unanswered goals. They tied it, then they scored 2 more, and then they had the empty netter. Bottom line is, if Dallas had scored again in that hockey game, I think Skinner blows it, because when he gives up goals, he gives them up in droves, and he's shaky in goal. This is, again, Mike, the same problem you and I have been talking about for years with this hockey franchise. I think their goalie is average.
I think he's clearly the 4th option out of the 4 goalies left. I think clearly he's the 4th option out of the 4 guys that are left, and that's a problem for them. And whether that becomes a bigger problem for them in this series or if they happen to win in the next series in the Stanley Cup final, I think eventually it is, because it's like the goal that the Stars scored to take the lead in Game 3. That was a cheapie, that one with him against the post. He's had some cheapies in this series.
Now, listen, last thing I'll say about Dallas, they're the best road team left standing. Okay, of all the teams,
yes.
There's 4 teams. They have the best playoff road percentage, winning percentage, and they score the most goals on the road of any team left standing, and that benefits them in some capacity, I think. If they go home and win, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go to Edmonton in Game 6 and eliminate the Oilers in the Rogers Arena.
That's exactly how I have it, too. I think they win tomorrow night, and then they finish it in 6 in Edmonton. I don't think there'll be a Game 7, but if there is, DeBoer never loses a Game 7, right? So they'll be okay.
Wow, good point, Mike. Good point.
If that ends up being the situation. He's 8-0 in Game 7s, so they'll be okay if they get there. We have a Game 5 tonight. At the Garden, MSG, the world's most famous for the Panthers and the Rangers. I'm going to pass on Maurice just because of time, and we will get right down to business. Panthers minus $130 now. Road favorites, Rangers plus 110. 5.5 is the total. Panthers get one on the road tonight, Scotty?
Yeah, I think so. But, I'm not going to deny that I'm rooting for Mafia and his team to get it done. I'm rooting for New York. I live here. I want them to win. I'm obviously a Penguin fan. I can't stand any of these teams. But, I'd root for the Devils, too, if they were in it. And I would not root for your team if they were in it because they've ruined my life. I can't ever forgive them for all the torture and psychotic. I need a shrink. For what the Islanders have done to me in my life. I could never root for them, but I would root for, and I have rooted for your Bills, but I won't root for them. But I'll root for the Rangers here tonight. But I think the Panthers beat them, and I got them at minus $1.25. I don't know why I'm taking the Panthers. I really don't. I think the Rangers are as good as the Panthers, if not better. I really do.
I do too.
What they need is Zibanejad, Kreider, and Panarin to have a game, for Christ's sakes. They haven't done anything.
They have got nothing from Zibanejad, nothing from Kreider, as you just said. Look, you've had 3 straight overtime games in this series. It doesn't get any closer than that when you talk about it, that's for sure. I'll give you quickly the player props for tonight when we come back for the Panthers and the Rangers and the rest of the stuff before we get out of here.
Yeah, Kreider has to step up tonight. He's the kind of guy that has these. Remember, he had that 3-goal hattie in the playoffs in the third.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. And it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. And I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, what are those props for tonight at the Garden?
These are the most bet player props for tonight. And remember, we have a lot of Ranger fans that are betting here in New York. Trocheck to score plus 250. Zibanejad to score plus 260. Bobrovsky under 23.5 saves. Kreider under a half a point, plus 105, and Kachuk to score the first goal at 12-1. The other day, Scotty, was all Ranger ones, obviously because there's no BetMGM in Florida.
Well, I think Kreider has to step up, so I'm going to give him the point, and I think Kachuk could very well have the first goal. He's sensational at that. Trocheck's been, I think they're he and Lafreniere have been their best players, so I'd be willing to go there. Zibanejad needs one worse than anybody, but he just hasn't been doing it, so I'd probably say no. And as far as Bobrovsky, if the Rangers want to win this game tonight at the Garden, they got to have more than 23 shots. They really do. They need 30, 35 shots on goal. And they just haven't been doing that against this team. They've been unbelievable clamping down. They remind me of that neutral zone trap that used to win cups, for teams, back in the day. They don't do it as much anymore.
No, they do not. So Rangers and the Panthers, Game 5 tonight at the Garden. All right, here's a couple of other things for you. You mentioned this with Adam. Jaden Waddle, 3 years, $84 million, $76 guaranteed. He gets with Miami. Washington co-owner Marjorie Harris says the team will not be changing names from the Commanders anytime soon, just is not a high priority for the ownership group, despite the fact that everybody hates the name down there. NFL kicker Brandon McManus sued for $1 million in a sexual assault lawsuit. Did you read about this one, Scotty, about the team plane to London last year? And he was harassing a couple of the flight attendants that were on there. Not a good scene for Brandon. He's having a bad week.
Just real pervy stuff, booze, a lot of really bad things happened on that flight. It seems like a lot of fun, though, to be on that airplane that day.
Mike McCarthy said today that Micah Parsons not being at OTAs is him missing an opportunity. I'm sure he won't be saying that when he gets a couple of late sacks in a blowout game to pad his stats in early September. He'll love Micah Parsons.
To Mike at all.
No, nobody listens to Mike in Dallas. Darren Waller dropped a music video. I urge you all to not watch it, honestly. The Darren Waller music video. Tyson Fury and Usyk rematch is set for December. So those guys are going to go at it again. PGA player Grayson Murray passed away over the weekend. This was from when you weren't here, Scotty, and Smiley talked about it. He knew him, gave him some thoughts about it the other day. Awful story that came out of the PGA last weekend.
Horrible. Problems with depression and alcoholism. Withdrew from that tournament, and then obviously his own family said he committed suicide. So just a tragic end to a young star's life. He had won a couple tour stops and was doing great on tour, and apparently had a lot of demons.
Indeed, he did. The last two that I'll give to you, then you can pick up, is did you see that Zubac's house got burglarized in L.A.? Not a good scene there. They're still looking for the thieves. Good luck. And Hayden Hopkins, the influencer, is expecting a child with Joey Gallo, Major League Baseball player, home run and strikeout expert, not Raiders owner Mark Davis, as some people were foolishly saying the other day. So it's Joey Gallo.
How awful to have your first baby have a bowl haircut like Mark Davis come out of you.
Right.
Honestly, you're better off with Ernest and Julio Gallo there. Obviously, Ferrall finished. The bad breath rapist on the run for 16 years, finally caught after cops spotted him leaving a multi-million-dollar home. Everyone that he raped talked about his horrific halitosis. My man had some kicking breath when he was doing his dirty. Enraged man tried to kill a porn star who filmed an adult scene with his ex. An 11-year-old student sprays the entire cafeteria with pepper spray, evacuating the school. Strong effort by that kid. Diddy hit with a new lawsuit. A woman claims he raped her multiple times. She was a supermodel. Indiana beauty queen arrested in a Mexican cartel bust that included one of the Fed's most wanted fugitives in the world. Florida priest bites a woman during communion. There was a scuffle at the communion, getting the body of Christ and a little wine. And the next thing you know, the priest is biting some woman. We can't have it. New York City startup Gravity plans to line the streets with stylish trees that can charge electric cars in 5 minutes. Too bad thieves are stealing all the copper in those lines that charge cars and your catalytic converter. Go to FerrallOnTheBench.com. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coach Guys.